This video, we're going to talk about the formulas used for loan payments. We have two basic formulas here. The first one is to calculate the balance based on a specific payment amount. We're assuming monthly. This makes most sense to talk about monthly. So in these problems, n, which is the times that we're compounding, as you can see on this list of what each variable represents, is going to be 12. Okay. And then the second formula, which is a lot more useful for people, it actually helps us figure out what the loan payment is going to be. And that's the formula we're going to focus the most on. So if you need to look at what each of these represents, pause the video because I'm not going to go through that. But instead, we're going to go ahead and apply these formulas. So let's look at this first one. So we're going to figure out what loan is best to choose. So we're going to borrow 4,000 to pay off a credit card. That makes sense because credit card interest rates are notoriously high. So it's far cheaper to do a little loan through your bank than it is to pay the credit card and keep it on there. So you're going to borrow 4,000 to pay it off. You can afford a monthly payment of $150. We have three choices. We could do a 2-year loan at 8%, a 3-year loan at 9%, or a 4-year loan at 10%. Notice, of course, the percents get higher the longer the loan is because they're taking more of a risk of you not paying it back by allowing you to pay it back at a much slower rate. Okay. Plus, they're not getting their money back very quick. So then they can't loan that money out to other people. All right. So let's calculate the loan payments for each scenario. I'm going to write the formula down. So we're doing the payment one. So this is P times R over N all over 1 minus 1 plus R over N to the negative NT. Okay. So I'm probably not going to have enough space to do each problem. I'll have to erase it as we go, but we'll keep track of the answers for each. So let's start with the first one, with a 2-year one. So we're borrowing 4,000 in every case, but the 2-year rate is 8%. Compounded monthly, that's 12 all over 1 minus 1 plus 0.08 over 12 to the negative 12 times 2 for the time. All right. Okay, so we're going to kind of calculate this in steps. Sometimes you can enter it all into the calculator at once. Some people are comfortable with that, but most people have trouble with it. They botch it a little bit, mainly because you have to put parentheses around this denominator, and a lot of people do have trouble messing that up. Just the order of operations can be a little bit cumbersome. So I'm just going to do it in steps. You can try it all at once and then just compare your answer to mine. So we're going to start with the numerator. I'm going to go ahead and divide what is in parentheses. And then I'm going to take that 0.08 divided by 12 and I'm going to times it by 4,000. Now I'm getting a decimal. So whenever that happens, you want to include as many decimal values as you're willing to. I'm going to go ahead and throw on 5 sixes there and a 7. Okay, now I'm going to calculate what's in the denominator. So I will have 1 minus, okay, so in here, when I divide 0.08 divided by 12 plus 1, that's going to give me 1.00 and then a bunch of sixes. And then that's to the negative 24. I'm going to squeeze that in. All right. So that's what I'm going to now plug into the calculator. I'm going to come down here for keeping track. So we still have the 26.666 repeating. All right. And let's figure out what 1 to the negative 24 is going to be. I'm 1.00667 to the negative 24. Now I'm trying not to erase things in my calculator. I'm trying to kind of keep track as I go so I can be as accurate as possible. All right. So if you round a little, your answers might be a tiny bit different from mine, but the more decimals you keep, the better off you'll be. Okay. So what I'm getting is I'm getting 1 minus 0.852596 blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'll stop there, but I'm going to keep that number in the calculator and subtract 1 from it. And now I have, 26 point, a bunch of decimals and 0.147404 rounded. Okay, so here we go. We're finally going to get the payment here. This is the first one. This is the 2-year payment. So we're going to divide that 20,000, 26.666667 divided by that number. Which gives me 180, and I'm going to round to 0.91. Okay, so if you got a little bit different from rounding, it's okay, but you do want to get very close to this number. All right, you want to get as close as you possibly can. Okay, so we're going to redo this, but we're going to do it for the 3-year. And I'm going to go ahead and scroll back up here, and I'm going to change this then. For the 3-year, it's a 9%. So I'm going to change that to 9%. And instead of it being for 2, 3. Okay, so let me go ahead and erase this, and we'll start it again. All right. So let's go ahead and start with the division. 0.09 divided by 12 times 4,000. Oh, that gives us a nice number. That's always nice to work with. Okay. And then here in the denominator, I'm going to have 1 minus. Okay, so 1 plus 0.09 divided by 12 is 1.0075. And that's raised to the negative 36. So if you need to pause the video to keep up with me, that's fine. Just take a second, do that. I'm going to erase this. All right, so finish calculating what's in the denominator. So we're going to take that 1.0075, raise it to the negative 36. Make sure you use the negative button, not the minus button. That makes a difference. So I'm getting 1 minus 0.764149 there. I'll include all of those. Okay. And then we're going to do 1 minus that number. 30 over 0.235851. Okay. And now we'll do our final step here for the 3-year loan. So 30 divided by that number, I'm getting 127.20 when rounded. All right, so that's what I'm getting. And then we're going to go back and repeat it for the next one. Again, if I'm going fast, pause the video, rewind. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, so for this one, the 4-year loan is at 10%. So I'm going to change this to 10%, 10%, and 4. Okay, so let's start calculating. I think this one comes out to another decimal. Yes, it does. That's all right. We'll just keep a bunch of the numbers. I'll throw in several 3s there. 3 repeating. Okay. Down here, I'm going to have 1 minus 1.008 and a bunch of 3s. And that's raised to the negative 48. Okay, so let's get plugging that into the calculator to figure this part out. All right. So okay, so in the denominator, I'm going to have raising that to the negative 48 gives me 0.671432. And I'm going to do 1 minus that. Oops. That's going to give me 0.3285868. Okay. Now I'm going to divide that. All right, and I'm getting 101.45. All right, so those are the payment options for the three different loans. Now, as you can see, based on the original problem, we were only able to pay 150 a month. So we can't afford the first option. The 2-year option isn't really an option for us. All right. So it's either the 3-year or the 4-year. And here's where you're going to kind of make a decision about which one's better. I'm going to favor shorter. Shorter is almost always better because you pay less in interest. So if we're going to try to just get this paid off and not have to spend this money anymore, I'm going to go with the 3-year loan. First of all, I can afford the payment. And shorter is better. That will mean spending less in interest. All right. So let's try this next one here. So this one says you can afford 200 a month. You can afford 200 a month, and you are able to get qualified for a 3% loan for 5 years. So how much car can you afford? So this is a good example of when we can use this other formula. I'm going to go ahead and write that down so I don't have to keep scrolling up. So P equals D parenthesis. Actually, here, let me change that to bracket. Make a distinction. 1 minus 1 plus R over N to the negative NT all over R over N. All right, so that's the formula we're going to use. This one's a little bit easier because the denominator is not so bad. We'll be able to step through this a lot nicer. You'll be able to kind of keep it in the calculator. So you'll probably find example 2 a little bit easier than example 1. Okay, we can afford $200 a month. Oops, not a parenthesis. And then the rate is 3% per month for 5 years. All right, there we go. It's plugging in all the information. So let's kind of take it in steps. But again, you'll be able to keep this in the calculator a lot easier. So I'm going to start inside that first parenthesis. So 0.03 divided by 12. Oh, it gives us a nice number. 0.0025, which I'm going to add 1 to. So 1.0025, that's 60. And this is 0.0025. Okay, so I'm going to take 1.0025 and raise it to the negative 60. And that gives me, I'll have to squeeze it here. 1 minus 0.860869. Okay, so I'm going to do 1 minus that. And then I'm going to go ahead and times it by 2,000 because I'm sorry, 200 because I'm running out of space. I just realized I wrote 2,000, but that's 200. Happy I caught that. All right, so I'm getting 27.82618 divided by 0.0025. So I'm going to take my answer divided by 0.0025. And here we go. This is the loan we can afford. Here, I'm going to write it up here for space. $11,130.47. Probably should just round it to 11,130, but there you go. That's the loan you can afford.